This one kind of goes into that one, but it's kind of slightly different. And it was titled Business Insider says a millennial has been looking for a tech job for over a year after being laid off. He says AI and being black have worked against him. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but there were some highlight points I thought were pretty interesting to bring up because these are some of the things I've said on videos for years now and why some people are having issues. So his real name is not Jared, but that's his alias. Roughly a year and a half ago, Jared was laid off from his job as a data scientist at a financial services company, despite trying several strategies to make himself more appealing to employers. He's been unable to find work in the tech and finance industries ever since. Jared received severance pay for 3 months and then started collecting unemployment benefits. He told Business Insider via email, but this eventually came to an end. In the state of New York, where he resides, one can only receive unemployment for 26 weeks. Jared, who's in his 30s, said that to save money, he moved his family to a more affordable area of New York to make up for his lost income. He started selling some of his stock market investments, and in recent months, he has begun withdrawing some money from his 401k. He also tried doing some stock market day trading, but since pulled back after losing money. It didn't end well. Who's known the Business Insider preferred to use a pseudonym because of his concerns about professional repercussions. Jared is among the growing number of Americans who are struggling to find work. While the unemployment rate remains low compared with historical levels, it's ticked up in recent months. And I actually I need to find out where those numbers are because numbers can be skewed because I refuse to believe unemployment is that low. One or two things, people don't want to work, which I agree to an extent, but some of the jobs pay minimum wage where you can't even live.
Yeah.
And then other stuff is just BS. They just are saying like the numbers are low, but they're not really low. It's all a facade. And the people who are looking for jobs, whether it be because they were laid off, have just graduated from college, or are returning to the workforce, are having a harder time finding employment than they did a few years ago when job openings were at record levels. It's because businesses across the U.S. economy have been significantly pulled back on hiring. Monthly hires as a share of overall employment levels have been hovering at lows not seen in a decade. Excluding a temporary dip in 2020, the ratio of job openings to unemployed people, an indicator of job availability, has declined considerably over the past 2 years.
Where are they getting that data from?
Labor statistics via Fred. So they did cite the source for that one. What's more, hiring on LinkedIn was down in July compared with the prior years in 19 to 20 industries. Jared shared the top strategies he's used to boost his chances in today's job market. So he said there could be some discrimination during the hiring process. He thought several factors could help him explain why his job hunt has been particularly difficult. First, he pointed to the challenging job market, particularly in the tech, finance, and consulting industries where he's largely been applying. He said the tech industry has been the primary focus.
You need to look at another industry.
Thank you.
What you could? The first thing that came to my head was the medical field. Why not? You're still doing tech. You're still doing cyber. You're still helping protect and
He's a data scientist.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. All that data they got.
Man, all the companies are looking for it. And here's a look. If you are a data scientist, I got a friend he's either data engineer, data scientist.
What is a data scientist? What?
Let's ask Siri. Hey Siri. I can't hear me on here. A scientist of data?
Me. I'm asking ChatGPT. So
they work together with analysts and business to convert data insights into action. They make diagrams, graphs, and charts that represent trends and predictions. Data summarization helps stakeholders understand and implement results effectively.
Statistics, programming, and domain expertise to extract valuable insights from structured and unstructured data. So they work with tools like machine learning, algorithms, predictive models, data visualization. Count me out. But dope. Very dope.
No, that one of us I did at JP Morgan, it literally if you were good at manipulating data and telling a story with SQL and Power BI, easy security job because that's what they really want, those insights.
That's what the cyber intelligence degree at UD. It's heavy on the data analytics and stuff.
Nice. So he says some companies in these sectors have laid off workers and cut back hiring, resulting in more competition for fewer roles. Jared said he also thought the adoption of AI had allowed some companies to operate a little leaner with fewer employees. He said that in addition to competing with other laid off workers, he's had to compete with new entrants to the workforce from top schools. He also said having a graduate degree, which he doesn't have, seemed to be getting more important. And that's a thing I want to talk about too. When you are black, I actually agree with that notion of that graduate degree helping you stand out in your job search a lot of times when you're going against a lot of people, especially
I
for
agree.
higher up
I've
roles.
always felt that way. I've always felt that way, and no one can make me feel differently. I've always felt that way. I feel like it's helped it depending on what it's in, but it does help you stand out a bit more. Because now it's like, okay, well, that person put in the time and the effort to get that done. It's a commitment. It's showing. It's not just showing that you got the credentials. It's showing, your grit. Grad school is hard.
Yeah, so I agree, like, because it's one of the things, like I was talking about the HR expert, how if you have all these credentials, when you got your master's and a couple of certs experience, then your leverage and negotiation power during the offer stage is higher sometimes because they can check you based on what everybody else got and say, okay, we can offer him this. He said a lot of roles now require advanced graduate degrees, and even if they don't, those are people competing for these roles now. As a black man, Jared said he thought it was likely that he also faced some discrimination on his job hunt. And this is the biggest part I want to touch on. He said in 2020, everybody wanted to hire me because I was black. He said, pointing to diverse hiring initiatives rolled out in the corporate world following the murder of George Floyd. I wonder if other people of color hired during the 2020 hiring spree were also laid off in the last year or so, too. I want to bring this up because I've talked about over the years that the hiring that took place in late 2020, 2021, and a little bit in 2022 does not exist anymore because companies were making a lot of money and they were hiring a lot of people to just be hired and they weren't doing work, especially at some of the big tech companies. You have people from Meta saying, hey, they only hired us because they want the competitors to get us, but they weren't doing work. A lot of them weren't qualified. Despite some progress in recent decades, black men are still less likely to be working than white, Asian, and Hispanic Latino men. As of July, about 81% of black men between the ages of 25 and 54 were working. The other three groups were all between 87.5% and 89.5%. Jared said he also suspected that being a black man had sometimes worked against him during job interviews. Between finance and tech, most of my interviewers are Asian or white, he said, adding, I do feel like there are a lot of prejudices working against me, but there's nothing I can do to change the way the world works. And I feel like that sometimes too, to where I've looked at some stuff and people was laughing in the comments last time when I said I can't even get a Logic or J. Cole in the panel because it's not intimidating or anything, but I will say sometimes maybe that those biases are there and maybe your diversity is not being welcome, knowing like some of the things that you may catch up on or the person going to bat for you. Because my client that got on with Yahoo, he was telling me also like he performed well too, but it was I think a black guy that was like an interview panel with him. He really fought hard to like bring him on, one, because he knew he could do the job, two, he's like, because we need more of us on the team as well. So that is a big thing that you don't see all the time, and it could be a reason why sometimes you didn't get the nod. Not to say you didn't get the nod because you were black, but it's like nobody was there to advocate
On your
for and to say, hey, like this team does look a little biased. We got a lot of diversity gaps here.
I think that I think I've only interviewed with one black person, and I think she was the reason why I got the job. I'm pretty sure. Because I was desperate at this point in time. I'm like, okay, everything I'm getting denied for. So one of the questions that I asked her, like right off the bat, before we even got started, was, regardless of how this goes, I would really appreciate, some feedback because I've been interviewing and not getting feedback isn't helping me get better. And we kind of talked about that for a couple minutes, and that honestly, I was feeling a little bit discouraged. So I don't feel like I didn't not put forth my best foot, but I don't feel like I gave it my all, but I still ended up with the job because I was just kind of burnt out at that point in time. But I do feel like I interview well, but I feel like her seeing kind of me really trying and probably her being able to relate to being in a situation like that because she's black, I feel like that worked in my favor during that interview.
Right. I agree. Now I'm gonna touch on some of these topics and then we're gonna move on. One of the things that says interviewing can be a difficult skill to master, which I agree. It can take a while before you can get, first of all, if you are at least a decent interviewer, it could take a while for you to finally get into that mode of becoming a better interviewer. With that being said, if you're not just a good interviewer at all, you don't know how to sell yourself and all these other things, it's probably going to take you a while until you get some professional help to just listen to how you sound and communicate. That's a big thing. And I got tricks. Listen, just sign up for the group coaching and you're going to get a lot of game on how to interview better, how to also leverage AI to interview better on questions that you struggle with. So click the link in the bio. And actually, matter of fact, I'm going to have the grouping thing directly out there for you guys. Wow, my new site is almost done too. I'm moving to Kajabi, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you how it looks. It looks very nice. And I just got a few more things to fix, and then I'll probably just start running with that and add stuff as I go. This video is being sponsored by Textual Consulting. Are you still struggling to get into cybersecurity? Are you not getting interviews? Do you have a bad resume? Or is it all the above? Well, if that's you, then we got you covered at Textual Consulting. My name is Henri Davis. I'm a career coach and a cybersecurity professional, and I've helped hundreds, maybe even thousands of people get into cybersecurity with my coaching and my content that you've seen in various places. Now, I specialize in specifically getting people in the blue team. That would be incident response or SOC analyst. I can cover everything from your entry level to your medium to your advanced skills and really help you outperform your resume. You don't believe me? Check out some of these testimonials that I've had from recent clients. So if you're interested, click the link in my bio, techtualconsulting.com/offerings to see what offerings that we have available for you. Now, back to the show. Maybe you didn't do good at all and you just start getting denied for everything. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, we already know this referrals and recruiters can help land interviews. Let me see if we got anything in there that's spicy. Okay, that's the end of the article. But I did want to point that out. Like, one of the main things why people are feeling the way is, and I said this, like, hey, people who were here post 2020 are pretty much still doing good because they got the skills to pay the bills. Some of the people who didn't get the skills to pay the bills are doing bad right now, and they either keep getting laid off or having hard times finding something. So if that is you, find some help from a person that has been in the field of whatever role you want to get into and try to network with them, maybe get some feedback from them. Like we were talking about the guy's resume earlier, like a skill set, like a network. It's a multitude of things.